How you see the world depends on where you're looking. If you look in some directions, it seems like the world is an awful place, full of pain and violence, corruption, evil, bad people doing bad things. But we also have the option to look in a different direction, to see all the goodness, all the good people, all the kindness, all the generosity, all that gives us faith that everything is going to be all right. My guest on this very special episode could be both the subject and the narrator of the Golden Girls theme song, Thank You for Being a Friend. As narrator, thank you for being a friend, for traveling down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You are a pal and a confidant. And then as the narrator, and if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. Love, Adam Klusky. Welcome to the Rated Rabbi Sports Card Podcast, where sports cards and pop culture meet the 1984 All-Star Game. I am your host, Rabbi David Spinrad. Welcome to a very special episode, a season team boombox and screen featuring the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers and my beloved all-time bestest buddy, Adam Klusky. Adam, welcome to the show.
Dave, thank you. And, it's funny because we could have this conversation without being on a podcast. These are topics we could talk about every day, but I am honored to be a friend of yours. I'm honored to have known you and continue to know you, but I'm thrilled to be on your podcast today. So thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you for making the time. Let's jump right into, we love collecting. Let's get with that big first question. Adam, why do you collect?
That's one of the hardest questions I had to answer when I thought about this podcast, which is, why do I collect? I think my honest answer is, to some degree, I don't know. I know that answer. At first, it was for a love of the game. As kids, the players were larger than life. They were superhuman in nature. I still remember the first home run I ever saw and the impact it had on me. As I became older, it became just a joy. Baseball was an escape, whether it be cards or Stratomatic or just digging into stats. It became a separation of sorts. And then as I got older, for a while, I thought it would be for profit, for I don't know, for my child's future, for my retirement. And what I come back to is, God, I just love baseball cards, man. I just love them. It's the core foundation as a child, and what we do and why we collect, and looking at the cards, reading the stats on the back, and I love it. And collecting now has become a search for new branches, a search for what's different. And what you see behind me is a varied collection of different things that just make me happy, right?
Absolutely. I love the purity in that answer. Let me follow with another question. So tell us a little bit, how do you collect?
Boy, I'm going to equate this to the movie Moneyball. All right.
Okay.
So, look, Dave, you are the scientist of collecting cards, and you hold up a card and you say, "What's the grade of this card?" By the way, there's my 65 Aaron. What
I love that card.
One of the best sets ever.
Yeah.
But you'd say, "Give it a grade. Guess the grade." And you're the scientist. Corners look good. Is the centering good? Everything else. I'm the fat old guy sitting on the other side of the table who says he's a 5-tool guy. I think I'm a collector in the moment. I'm prone to shifts in collecting,
Okay.
prone to not necessarily the collection of the moment, because I'm not into modern cards, but I am a collector of, boy, that would be neat to collect, and then things shift, right?
Yes. I've seen you shift many times.
Yeah, from sets to individual cards
Mm-hmm.
to, hey, let's collect the entire Hall of Fame in second year cards, and I've got a whole bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's Pop Fly Pop Shop, and it's unopened, and I'm not sure there's any one vein that's helped me evolve.
Eclectic.
I think is what makes it so much fun still now is what is the next horizon? What is the next thing to find? You know, I'm not tied to a card. I'm not tied to a pyramid. I'm not, you know, there's it allows me to expand and go in different areas. And of course I have an understanding wife. So that helps at all.
No, that's no, absolutely great. And I'm
yeah.
a witness to that. How would you describe your collection from 3 years ago to today? And where do you see yourself going in the next year? 3 to today to the next year.
That's another great question. I found myself in the last 3 years looking at baseball from a historical perspective. It's no longer about the most expensive card. It's and there are things I have that are really nice, and yes, they cost money, and yes, but it's about something that makes me remember a moment, right? When you look around my man cave, which is not this room, it's a different room.
This is the annex.
This is man cave 2. This is the
God bless your wife, man.
This is the overrun area. It's things that elicit some sort of memory or some sort of just a warm feeling. You look around, you're like, boy, I just like this room. It just brings a sense of peace. And as we move forward, I'm following a little bit of the Dave Spinrad philosophy. I'm starting to buy less, and I'm starting to go through and get rid of more. And there's nothing wrong with more. I could turn my camera to the side and you'd see a closet full of cards and binders and what have you. But that's not what I want to be remembered for when someone goes through these things later on. It's now a desire to have a collection.
Yes.
Someone says, "Oh, that's Adam. That's an Adam collection." So when I look at a Pete Rose card, right? Someone, I mean, that's the time I lived. That's the man I saw play. I'm starting to get rid of things that predate or post-date.
I like that.
That area of joy, right? So, and you've seen it lately. It's been 1980s, 1978 rack packs and packs.
Absolutely.
Those are the days I remember walking to the drugstore to go buy cards to Arthur's Toy Town.
With me, buddy.
Oh yeah.
I was just thinking about that Pay and Save and Longs and Arthur's Toy Town, 7-Eleven, all that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just.
I love that though. So let me ask you a follow-up question. So the question I was going to ask you is how would I know you by your collection? And you just said, right, to look at your cards. Yep, like to know you, I can just see like a Tony Gwynn piece that's so you. I want to go back to the player you were talking about a second ago. So Rose, it would be sort of the 77 to 87 window if you wanted to have a card to represent, because I know that's your first year of your collecting. So what's your Rose card?
Oh, well, by the time you get into the early 80s, he's a Philly.
Right.
And I'm not sure I ever equate to him as a Philly. We just had, by the time I started my love of baseball, the Big Red Machine had just hit its stride, right? 75, 76. 77, I'm starting to collect. And of course, this is coming off of the year that the Reds led the league in every offensive category there was. Right. The card I love of Roses, if I were to have any one and have it in a mint, have it encased, have it sitting there displayed, I think would be 76.
Oh, I love 76 with the flip down glasses.
Right. By the way, do those flip down sunglasses not evoke a period of time in baseball?
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. There's a moment in the All-Star game. Who's out? Someone's out in left field. I think it's Winfield and uses flip downs. It's great. Yeah.
There's that nonchalant looking up at the sky.
Yeah, you're cool.
And then just that little flip down of the 76. And I'm not a huge fan of the 76 set, but that picture evokes something for me. I also like the 79 with him ending the swing, starting to run down the base paths.
Yep, at Riverfront.
But it has to be a Reds card. And
okay.
I've got Rose cards that are other things, but he's not a Philly, and it's not his second stint with the Reds. At that point, he's just finishing up his career.
Tell me about 3 save searches in your eBay or things you're looking for. 3 things you're looking for.
Oh. Well, let's talk about a couple of things, right? Because again, the genre goes in different directions. I have a save right now, save search for every type of BBCE rack pack, or a PSA cello pack, or 78, 79, 80, 77 through 80.
So just any racks?
Well, the funny thing is, I have a save. There are 2 racks I want. I have to have.
What are they?
They are the 1977 Topps rack with Dave Kingman on the front. Dave Kingman.
Does a collation work out for that?
Well, luckily enough, the collation stuff doesn't worry as much on a rack pack, and I've seen some out there. I just haven't seen anyone willing to sell one.
Oh, really? That'll come your way.
Was my first home run. It was the guy I was in love with. It was my chicks dig the long ball guy.
Yep.
And I don't. When I think of Kingman, I know how he ended his career and the animosity he had between him and the press. But that wasn't the guy I first saw hit man with home runs for the Mets and Cubs. The other one, and it's in my mind one of the
Kingman,
greatest.
77 cello, 77 rack pack. Kingman. Okay.
Both of them are racks.
Okay.
The other one is a 1978 rack with Dave Winfield on the front. Now, if you want a guy who epitomizes the 70s, you've got this
80s,
large man with these beautiful chops, these beautiful sideburns.
Super sharp. Yeah.
There's something about that card that I love.
Yeah.
It's not the 72 Clemente where he's staring down the barrel of the bat. It's not.
No, it's a cool one.
But talk about a guy who was great and knew it. So he's
hitting 370 at the All-Star break in '84. He's having he ends up losing the batting title though down the stretch on the last day to Mattingly. It's a great race. In fact, I'm going to feature a card about that in a coming up episode. It's an '85 Domrus. Yeah. Anyway, so that's your second. So you're looking for the racks, cellos from those years, including the Winfield.
I've got some obvious regular searches that we've talked about over time.
Okay.
2 cards from 1953. It's the Pee Wee Reese Bowman color.
You can get that at National.
You can. The problem is when you think about the money for the card, and look, there's a lot of off-center ones. There's a lot of ones where the discoloration occurs a little bit.
Let's look for one together, man.
Finding the right one is the challenge.
That'd be fun. I'd help you.
The other one is the 53 Topps page, right?
Oh, yeah. I love that card.
That's a beautiful card. If I were looking for a third card at National just to look for something, it's a really nice 62 Mays.
Oh, yes. He has too many bad cards kind of a bummer, but that's a good one.
And if you think about Giants history, I didn't bring the book with me here. I grew up reading this book that was written by not Herb Cain. It was written by a San Francisco sports
Lowell
writer.
Cohn or somebody. Glenn Dickey.
It was about the Giants. It was called The Giants of San Francisco.
Yeah.
And it went between 58 and 62. And it was about the building of the stadium the climax, the penultimate area of the book is the 62 series with the Yankees.
Yeah.
And so I've always just had a soft spot for that team. The book has all the player stats in the back leading up to 62. And so having a 62 Mays brings me back to that book. In fact, I went and found it, bought myself a new copy just because it was hard enough to find. I had to go to the Library of Congress.
That's an interesting, so it's a nostalgia not for having lived it. It's a nostalgia for having learned about it through this book. That's really neat.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and there's always that the hardest hit ball, the hardest ball ever hit was the line drive McCovey hits to Richardson, right?
that's right.
One
That's
foot to the
right.
left or right, and
That's right.
so I just there's things that connect you with the game. I
Yeah.
have a book here,
Yeah.
this one right here.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is a 1954
Yeah.
official Encyclopedia of Baseball. I think it's like the second or third that ever came out.
That's
and
cool.
and it is the only stats they show are league position, games, and average. No home runs,
Hmm.
no RBIs. The first player in the registry is Hank Aaron, who had only played in 54. It's got it's my dad had it,
Hmm.
and we used to thumb through it looking at stats. And now, of course, everything's about stats and launch angles.
Yeah, yeah.
But now this is a simpler time. Simpler.
Simpler time.
It
Let me
was
show you. Let me show you a card that's on my watch list.
Sure.
So a lot of my
Yeah.
stuff is well known. So there's a lot of stuff that's not. Like at some point I want to get a Koufax rookie, and I'm looking for just the right Aaron. I want to get a 33 to long lefty Gomez. Like there's some big boys out there. Those
Yeah.
are just a matter of finding the right one and saying like, okay, I'm going to spend a lot of money. And I'm really not in that kind of mode after getting the 33 Gowdy Ruth. This is from 2013. It's
13.
Topps opening day. It's called the Parade Variation. Pablo Sandoval, Kung Fu Panda. And remember, he's coming off that great 2012 where he hits 2 home runs off of Verlander in the All-Star game, I think. And then 3 home runs off him in the World Series, and they sweep Detroit. This is like peak Panda. And I feel like I'm really enjoying going back and getting cards from those 3 World Series teams. This card is super hard to find because it's like Giants fans. If someone gets this card, they're not likely to be selling it.
That's right.
So this has been a tough one to find. I haven't found it so far, but I will. I want to get into the 80s a little bit with you. Let's talk. Let me remove this. Let's talk 1982. So we're entering 7th grade, Sinaloa Junior High. Who are you, Adam Klusky, 1982?
I was a nerd. It was a tough time. It was a tough time. With the exception of the Stratomatic group and some of the things we did, I was just a nerd kid who loved baseball. I wasn't a great athlete. My parents had just gotten divorced a short time before.
What year did they get divorced?
They got divorced when I was 10 in 1981.
So, they got divorced. I did a little homework on divorce. They got divorced at the peak of divorce rates in the United States, 79, 80, 81, or 80. Yeah. That's right. 79 are peak divorce rates. They've leveled off since then. And remember, like everything, all of a sudden, everyone was getting divorced, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
Kramer versus Kramer. It just became like part of the national conversation. I totally remember. So it was 1980. You were 9. That's a really hard time to, hard time to, for your parents to get divorced.
Yeah. I used to think, and I don't want this, I worried that this conversation would become like a counseling session for Adam. I don't want to get down that road, right?
No.
I used to think that it was selfish, like most kids. Like, did my dad really want me around? Is it because of us? Is it because of... And over the years, I've realized that for my mom and dad, it was better. I mean, my dad was a rough guy at times. In fact, there's the picture of my family. So
there it is.
Perfect introduction, right?
Yeah.
To the far left of the screen is my older brother Lee, who was the statistician of the group. My mom, who still lives a mile from my house. God bless her. My dad is in the middle. He just passed, last year, but was an interesting man. And of course, at the end, you see 2 boys, one with glasses, one without. I am the nerd boy with the glasses at the end, and that is my twin brother Neil. And we could have a whole day talking about that relationship. But he's all right. He's all right. And here we are in our football fandom.
That's a great picture, guys. Oh, yeah. For people who are listening, I showed a picture of Adam and his family sitting on the back of a yacht with their legs dangling off somewhere in San Francisco Bay. And I have a picture of Adam and Neil with wearing these like kiddie football jerseys and 3-point stances. Yeah, man, it wasn't always easy for you growing up around that. But I would also say like sports were a deep refuge and something that
Yes.
we shared together for so many years. It wasn't just baseball cards. It wasn't just Stratomatic. We used to play so much, like on every house you lived in. When you moved to the white condos by Sam Rim, you used to play baseball on that little sloping grass field by the
Yeah.
tennis courts. There's tons of football in the same place for years and years and years and years. It was like a bond. I feel like that we had this really incredible escape from adults and the world through sports, whatever we were doing, be it cards, Stratomatic, playing. We had this, sanctuary.
Yeah, and for me, it was kind of a needed thing because we weren't playing sports, I was dealing with a mother who was at times struggling to make ends meet, who was
Yeah.
going through how does she live in a world with three boys all around teenage years,
Yeah.
two of which were she'd say we weren't always perfect, and there's
Mm-hmm.
100 stories we can have there.
Mm-hmm.
So as things were happening, sports became. In fact, I think for a lot of times I was spending just as much time at your house as my own, and
For sure.
that was one because we just love spending time together, but two is because it was just sort of a step away, right?
Step away. Yeah. And my parents gave us a lot of latitude,
Oh, my
right?
lord! From my house to your house, it was nice. My dad, my dad. I remember when we moved to the Palma Way at the top of the
Uh-huh.
hill,
Uh-huh.
and he had us in that room behind the garage. He said, "That's your room. Go do." So we're in that room doing whatever,
Yeah.
and the rest of the house wasn't to be touched.
Yeah, man.
Whatever you want to do in that room, you go right ahead. The rest of the house, it was my rules.
Yeah.
It was just my dad. I came to understand him and appreciate him later.
Yeah.
Always in the vein of sports, right? My
Yeah.
dad was a huge sports fan, but his way of showing love and his way of being a father was different than your usual father figure.
Yeah.
So it just became an appreciation that came over time, right?
Yeah.
And
I thought you did a good job back when we were kids in terms of like one of the things I always appreciate about you is like you chose the path of just being the good kid.
well,
Like,
I had two examples, right? I had my
Yeah.
older brother who at the time was the straight A student. He went
Yeah.
to Berkeley. He did everything my I guess from my view did everything my dad wanted. He kind of-
Sure.
and then we had Neil, and Neil went down his own path for a while, and he was a different individual. So you had this top end, low end sort of view.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what I learned over time is that, I still do it to this day, which is the highs don't get too high, the lows
Mm-hmm.
don't get too low. You just
Mhm.
kind of go with wherever life takes you. It is what it is. And maybe my
It's nice.
collecting has sort of become that way,
Yeah.
which is okay. So that's been pretty fun. So what's over here now, right? And what's over there? And
It's a light touch. It's nice, man. I could
Yeah.
learn from you a little bit.
my daughter Alana couldn't stand me growing up because we'd have an argument. She would do something that I would think is, like most parents, not a smart decision. And I'm going to keep my language clean. I just because we're this.
Yeah, it's a family show.
And she would yell and scream, and I would yell back, and we'd go back and forth, and things would be, it kind of. And then when the conversation was over, 5 minutes later, I'm watching a show, I'm reading a book,
Yeah.
and it would just make her angrier. How are you not still upset by this? Well, sweetie, the argument was had.
Mm-hmm.
We both hopefully said things we regret. We'll see, right? But for me,
Easy
it's over.
going.
Let's
Easy
just move to
going.
the next thing. It's fine.
Easy going.
And
Let's
she hates- Let's
all right,
transition.
let's get back to the cards. Let's get back to
Yeah.
baseball. Let's get back to you at 1982, finding your way. Right now, you came from the East Coast. You sort of adopted Bay Area teams. I have a photo when you were like, I don't know, 11 years old, right around this time. You're wearing a green and yellow A's hat, and you're wearing an orange Giants jersey, which no offense, just smacks of transplant. No native could go without, but I respect you, the fans. So let me finish.
Yeah.
You adopted teams. You chose the Steelers when you were a kid.
Yep.
I remember your brother was a Jets, Lee was a Jets, and
Yep.
Ira took the Eagles, which was
Eagles.
so weird. So you adopted the Steelers, Giants you picked up, A's you picked up, and when I approached you, I said, I want you to pick a season and pick a team from the A's for the show. You actually you did something that nobody else has done. Everyone else took teams and seasons that were very personal, their teams, their follow teams. You chose the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers. Why?
Great question, right? First of all, to clarify, I didn't adopt the Giants. My dad was a New York Giants fan. We became season ticket holders the day we moved to California. But
you can't wear an A's hat in a Giants jersey and claim that you don't have some weird thing going on.
That's because Ricky came in. Anyway, when I look at the 80s, and
Right.
by the way, the 80s are a great, great decade of baseball. So many things to do. But when I look at my Giants, right, I look at the A's, the teams that were local. You know, Billy Ball came in and flamed out, and I can have a whole thing about Ricky Henderson. I love Ricky Henderson. I love the way he changed the game, although he then became the chicks dig the long ball kind of guy too. Anyway, but the reason I chose the Brewers, to understand my love for the Brewers, is to understand the 1979 Stratomatic Milwaukee Brewers team.
Oh, nice pull.
Everybody, Sixto Lezcano hit 320 something. I mean, it was just this loaded lineup. They couldn't pitch worth a darn, right? In fact, they were the all hit, no pitch team. And so,
why 82 though?
Well, 82, it's part of why I like baseball, which is the nuances of what makes a team great. And the Brewers of 1982 became the Brewers of 1982 because of trading. I mean, the trade that led them to their promised land occurred in December of 1980, right? It was the fateful trade with the St. Louis Cardinals, right? And we can talk through that whole. I mean, we can spend a whole hour and a half talking about it. Oddly enough, it didn't just reshape the Brewers. It reshaped the team they traded with. What happened in that period of time for that? When you think about the 86 Mets had their moment in the sun, right? They were the bad boys. They did their thing. The 84 Tigers had their moment in the sun. Everything sort of fell into place. Ultimately, the Oakland A's of the late 80s had their moment. The Milwaukee Brewers didn't. And there's something about the Rocky principle. They did everything they had to, and then at the end, just fell a little short. And for me, a guy who's trying to deal with things and trying to just accept and move on and do, it just became a team that resonates with me.
That's beautiful.
To have them lose, partially because of what the Cardinals did with the players they received. I mean, I had, I don't know, like 70 something baseball cards I was going to show. And I realized it was overkill, right? It was overkill. But, everything started because of this guy, right?
Fingers.
Raleigh Fingers.
So he gets traded in like a few days there, he gets traded again?
So in December
of
1980, the Padres trade Raleigh Fingers to the Cardinals. And Whitey Herzog has just taken over in October as manager and general manager of the Cardinals and wants to reshape the team.
Okay.
So 5 days later, he trades for this guy. And they now have Bruce Sutter and Raleigh Fingers on the same team. And the reason they did it is because the Cardinals couldn't come to an agreement with Fingers on a long-term contract. So they decide they're gonna shift and they're gonna trade for Bruce Sutter. So Raleigh Fingers becomes one of the key trade components in a trade with the Brewers. And the Brewers, looking to get their final step over the top, right? Make a faithful trade 5 days later after being traded from the Padres to the Cardinals.
Right.
And they pick up Ted Simmons, Pete Vukovich, and Raleigh Fingers.
I always love that 80 All-Star Ted Simmons card.
It's a beautiful card.
80 All-Star has just I've been feeling it lately.
And I'm going to be honest. In the 80s, you could have told me Darryl Porter, and I would have thought he's Ted. Used to get the two of them confused.
Oh, no, I have like a learning disability. I confuse Darryl Porter and Ted Simmons all the time, and then you throw in a Jim Sundberg, and I am in the ditch.
Oh, yeah. So the Cardinals, they don't get much back. Here's their haul, right? David Green.
He was the golden boy in the Jack Clark trade.
Sixto Lezcano. Right.
Yeah.
Larry
81
Sorensen.
Topps, Larry Sorensen. 81 Donruss. Look at the drop shadow font.
And Dave LaPointe.
God, what a bunch of hot steaming garbage. LaPointe went to the Giants one season, 7-17. Same Jack Clark trade. It was horrible.
So the Cardinals, because Herzog wants to reshape his team with speed and defense.
Yeah,
they
that's
trade
him.
Sixto Lezcano.
Yeah.
And another pretty good player named Gary Templeton. And they net Ozzie Smith. And
is that 83 Kellogg's? What are you showing us? 83
is a 83 Kellogg's.
I have that whole set. I had since I was a kid.
I love this card.
Love the Kellogg set. Yeah.
The hat, by the way. Look at the size of that hat. His head. Someone superimposed that hat on that card.
You know what I love? I love the powder blue, sky blue uniforms. That trend in the 70s and 80s. The Cardinals of all of them. For the one, it's just such a great uni. So Fingers ends up. He's pitching for them in 81. Can I bring up that 82 yearbook? They go to the postseason in 81. This is Fingers getting the big hug from Ted Simmons. And they clinch. The artwork on this is incredible. Where did you find this?
Oddly enough, I was just looking for a Harvey Wallbanger picture, something to bring in the 82 season. And this was the best one I could find.
It's such a cool yearbook. I mean, if you, oh my God, Simmons leaping high into the air. This is the last out County Stadium. Yeah.
I love the art behind it. I love everything about
the fans.
It. Great.
Yeah.
It's a great picture. And for the Brewers, this was their heyday. This was the 81 season was the split year.
Yep.
They lost to the Yankees in the playoffs. It wasn't their
Who then beat the A's in the LCS, right. Yeah. So 82, they have all this talent in the world. They start slow under Buck Rogers, not in the 25th century Gil Gerard, but manager Buck Rogers. They start slow. They in one stretch up to June, I think it's June the 2nd, they've lost 21 out of 28. They're 7-21. So they're just really in the dumps. And the GM, I think the GM's in, but he and Bud Selig, a young Bud Selig, decide to fire Buck Rogers. And who do they hire?
They hire Harvey Kuenn.
Harvey Kuenn
of Giants and Tigers lore, and he's not the most outspoken guy,
right?
And maybe they're lucky that things just fell into place. I'm not sure that Harvey did anything specific, but that offense takes off, right?
But so he had been he was a coach on the team. He knew the team. There's a lot to it. So he knew the players. They were playing really tight. And what you said helped set them at ease. Like you said, he was a laid-back guy. He was actually had a great career, 2,000 hits. He's the 1953 Rookie of the Year, wins a batting title in 59, makes 10 All-Star games in 8 seasons because, was it 59, 60, 61, they played 2. 10-time All-Star. He's a coach. He also has a prosthetic leg. Did you know that? He had 4 surgeries from a blood clot. And eventually they had to amputate his leg to save him. Yeah. So anyways, he takes over. And like you said, they already had the bats. And what is the team name?
Harvey's Wallbangers.
Harvey's Wallbangers. So check this out. It's for those of you listening, you'll wish you were watching. So on the screen right now, I have a picture of a Harvey Wallbanger. It's a real 70s disco cocktail, hugely popular. It is vodka, orange juice, and then you top it with what's that called? I'm blanking on the name. Hang on. Rookie, not a bartender. Once a bartender, you should know this. Galliano. Galliano is that yellow. It's that really long, narrow bottle. It's yellow. Galliano is kind of in the licorice-y fame. So you float that on top with an orange wedge and a maraschino cherry. It looks like the image on the screen. You know what else it looks like, Adam? The cocktail in my hand. Ladies and gentlemen, I prepared a Harvey Wallbanger for the 1982 Brewers on the Raider Rabbi Sports Card Podcast, Season Team, awesome. Boombox and Stream. L'chaim.
That is awesome.
Oh, that is a good beverage. Harvey Wallbanger. Okay, so they're loose
Yeah.
and they start balling.
Yep.
Right? They go and they win. It's 82. They win the division. Take it over. I got a lot to say, but I want to hear from you.
They play a close knit series against the California Angels.
Yep.
In the playoffs. It goes the full
Five
at the time, with a close last game. But what another trades actually helped the Brewers at the end of this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going back to trades, they make a small trade at the end of the year, giving up a couple of minor leaguers and bringing in Don Sutton.
Yeah.
The
Wait, let's talk. Let's talk about that. First of all,
yeah.
The Don. Do you have a Don Sutton card to show?
Oh, do I have a Don Sutton card?
Show us one Don Sutton card, and I will show you one of the players acquired. 85 Fleer Don Sutton.
Fleer.
I have an 83 Top Sutton, but the card I want to show you is one of the players acquired from from Milwaukee to Houston. Kevin Bass, Houston Astro, SF Giant. Always like cool looking, great name. Just not quite as good as his name and his looks. He was decent. Kevin Bass.
Player. 20 homer guy, 2070. Yeah.
So, Adam, one of the things that we talked about was because there's a trade theme woven through this. We just talked about two big trades, how they were key to the 82 Brewers. I invited you to propose trades, and I have some items to trade, and you have some items to trade. So let's just show us one or two items that might be on the block in a trade with me on the show.
All right.
What do you got?
Knowing that you have a small collection of unopened, look at your
very small.
Back there. It's small.
Yep.
But you're looking for certain players, right?
Yep.
I have a couple of racks.
Okay. A couple rack packs. All right.
This one is a 1990 Fleer basketball.
Yep.
Now, there's not much to it. It's a Fleer basketball set.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But this center card right here is one Mr. Michael Jordan.
Yep.
I have a few of these. For a while I was collecting a bunch of them. I almost had enough for a full box.
All right.
But maybe he wants an MJ. I mean, if you're going to have a Rice goat, you're going to have some other goats up there, your Montana, your other thing.
Yeah.
Maybe Jordan would be some. It's not a big value.
No, I hear you. I like it. Yeah. I like that you're thinking in the right direction, right? And I don't have a lot, but I want a few nice unopened items. The MJ, it seems like an automatic. Unfortunately, I don't collect racks where I can't see the player clearly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm out on that one. The wrapping over, which hid nothing from anyone. You could see who it was. So why did they torture us by covering it? But thank you. You're thinking in the right direction.
All right.
But I'm gonna pass.
All right. Continuing down this road of our time frame.
Okay.
Right. I have another unique rack.
Okay. What do you got?
This is a 1983 Topps rack.
All right.
Okay.
I'm listening.
With Ricky Henderson on the front. Oddly enough, he's upside down.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure why, but it's got Le Grand Orange.
Yep.
Staub in the front.
Yep.
It's got a giant.
Jim Barr.
Well, Jim Barr.
Yep.
So it's a fun little.
No. So I love it. Again, you're really thinking in the right direction, but that also has a disqualifier. My OCD will not allow me to collect upside down players.
All right.
So I got to say no. I have a couple of things to show you.
Bring it on.
Let's go with the unopened since you showed me unopened. First one, this is the lesser light, but I think it's pretty cool. It's an 87 cello with Giants manager Bob Melvin, but here he's Giants catcher Bob Melvin on top. That's kind of cool, right? Obviously, it's a low end item, but I got a Bob Melvin cello. 87 Fleer. Here's one I think that you might like, although I kind of want to save it for a little bit later because we're going to talk about this player. So I'm just going to pause right there.
What I need to see, though, the Bob Melvin card with him listed as a third baseman and a ball just going through his legs.
No, that was Bob Brenly, dude.
Was that Brenly? Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. So 82 Brewers.
82 Brewers.
They have Gorman Thomas.
Yep.
They have Ted Simmons as catching.
Cecil Cooper at first
Cecil
base.
Cooper is your first baseman.
Jim Gantner.
Second.
You've got Robin Yount at short.
And Molitor at third.
Molitor at third.
Ben Ogilvie home perm is your left fielder.
Yeah, your right fielder's kind of a mismatch of different guys.
Okay.
They played Charlie Moore a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I remember Charlie Moore.
there's a conglomeration of guys. And
Yep.
the pitching staff is highlighted by Pete Vukovich.
Yep.
Moose Haas
Yep.
is on that rotation. Mike Caldwell's in that
Yep.
rotation.
Sutton comes.
And boy, Sutton comes, but then you got Fingers in the bullpen.
Yep.
It was huge for them.
By the way, Fingers is who got Buck Rogers fired. Let me show you this. This is an interview in the dugout, and he's saying after that he was very outspoken that Rogers had lost the team, and this is after after Rogers got fired. He's in the clubhouse, and he just basically says, or he's in the dugout being interviewed on the on TV, saying basically, well, you can't fire 25 players. He said, this is the 13th manager I've played for who's been fired. This is the way the game goes. He is so clear about it. He's so baller. He's a Cy Young Award winner. And he basically says, yeah, it wasn't working. Great team though, right? Vukovich wins the Cy Young.
Yeah.
Right? I think he's hurt the next year, only pitches a couple games. I keep getting rid of you. Sorry, I'm not used to.
It's okay.
I'm like Clubber Lang. I usually train alone. I win the title alone. So Vukovich wins the Cy Young, gets hurt the next year. What is Pete Vukovich's next great professional moment? I'm going to show you right now.
Oh, you're going to show me Clue Haywood. Have to show me Clue Haywood.
Hell yeah! Where is it?
There you are.
Wait for it. Talk to me. Oh man, I didn't bring it up. I have so many pictures to show you. I didn't bring this one up. Hold it up a second, ladies and gentlemen. Who is Clue Haywood?
Clue Haywood is the cleanup hitter for the Yankees in the Major League.
You're so nuts.
I'm telling you that when Pete Vukovich comes up and you look for like just small inane references, things they did, who would have thought that he would turn into Clue Haywood, big power hitter for the Yankees?
I'm astounded, by the way, that you knew that I was going to go from him winning the Cy Young Award in '82 to getting hurt in '83 to starring as this guy Clue Haywood in 1989's Major League. Dude, you're like reading my mind.
Well, there's not much in between, right?
That's true.
Pete Vukovich, that guy's career.
Talk
about an injury derailing somebody.
That's true.
So
yeah, what's that one line he goes?
right.
You know, how's my son and your wife? Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, Robin Yount wins MVP that year. I need to take a little time with you. I think Robin Yount is at the bottom tier of Hall of Famers.
Oh, I'll take you one further. If it wasn't for 3,000 hits, I don't think he is a Hall of Famer.
Oh, I'm so glad. I always feel like I'm like something transgressive about him. Check this out. He does win 2 MVPs. He also wins in '89. He does have a 3,000 hits, but he plays 20 seasons, all one team. I know that always means a lot. Only makes 3 All-Star teams.
Yeah.
Only drives in 100 runs 5 times. Only has 4 times 200 hits in 20 seasons. Never hits 30 home runs. Only hits over 20, I think, twice. Never steals 30 bases. Only 4 times, actually 7 times, he has an on base of over 350, which is great. But in 20 years, you're only doing it, every few years.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Molitor is a little bit better. Molitor is also a lower tier Hall of Famer.
Molitor, I think, gets underappreciated because he wasn't
I do too.
At all. He couldn't field at all. And so for a lot of years, there wasn't just a spot for him, right?
He becomes a great DH, though.
Places, but boy, did he hit. And
has some monster years when he's with Toronto.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those World Series teams.
To me, Molitor has a better case than Yount. Yount may get.
I feel so understood. I was worried to talk about this.
No, I think Yount gets some additional benefit because he switched positions partway through his career and became a pretty good center fielder.
Yeah.
He did win 2 MVPs far apart to keep him in somewhat of a conversation.
Yeah.
He won a World Series. He wins a couple of MVPs. Somehow the numbers seem to all add up to he's an all right guy for the Hall. But when
he never wins a World Series, does he?
Oh, I'm sorry, he doesn't. I'm sorry, he makes a World Series.
Yeah,
because the '82 Brewers. The interesting thing about Yount, and maybe it's the idea of the Hall of Fame, right? And because we can have arguments on who should be in and who shouldn't, what have you. But you once made a reference to, I want to pay to see the guy play.
Yeah, that's a Hall of Famer.
And I agree with that to some degree. I think
Mm-hmm.
part of the challenge is sometimes you're a really good player or a Hall of Fame level player on a team that had another bigger player, right?
My Hall of Fame would definitely have a bar. Serve Harvey Wallbangers.
It would,
Oh, Adam, I got to show you this actually. This is incredible. So remember earlier in the episode, I mentioned that Harvey Kuenn was an amputee and had a prosthetic.
Yeah.
So take a look at this. This is awesome. That is
prosthetic leg?
Yeah, that is Harvey Kuenn's prosthetic leg hanging from the ceiling of a bar called Fourth Base in West Milwaukee. You get this on the Raider Rabbi Sports Card podcast. I go so deep into the nooks and crannies. That's Harvey Kuenn's prosthetic. There are two stories about how it ended up in the bar. One is that Harvey just left the leg. He was there drinking one time and left the leg behind and never came back to get it. Story B says that when Harvey died, the mortician, he had several prosthetics. And the mortician, he gave one to a friend of his, and the friend owned the bar or somehow got it to the bar. So we don't exactly know the provenance of it, but that's Harvey Kuenn's prosthetic leg hanging from the Fourth Base bar in West Milwaukee. And what's the card that's tucked into the stirrup?
84 Tops.
84 Tops, ladies and gentlemen. This is the card. 84 Tops, Harvey Kuenn sticking out of his Harvey Ling's prosthetic leg at the Fourth